to the Shot Clock podcast with me, Jago. First and foremost, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, all the basketball dads. Secondly, Plan B, go over and check out Plan B over on Instagram. And on Today FM, James is on during the week. Great little segment where he explained himself very well. So get over to Plan B. Thirdly, today's episode is another two-parter. This conversation could have gone on for about a week. This person is so knowledgeable, and in my opinion, one of the most underrated players in Irish basketball, even though he's probably one of the most successful. So, without further ado, and with no introduction at all, it's Darren McGuinness. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Shot Clock podcast with me, Jago. Today's episode is with one of my former teammates, somebody who I came into the league with and ended up playing when I'd finished in the league again with him. Somebody I've always looked up to. He's one of my first names on my top 5 of all time in the country. Darren McGuinness, how are you?
I'm good, Jago. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Good. How have you been keeping with the lockdowns, and now that we're coming to the end of it, how are you feeling?
I suppose, like everybody else, bored, you know. A lot of funerals in the last year and a half. I think I've done like 22 funerals in a year and a half. Oh, by the way, thanks for coming down to my mom's funeral.
No problem.
Meant a lot, meant an awful lot, you know. But yeah, you know, just like everybody else, just waiting for it to be over with now, you know.
And will it drive you back onto the court or drive you back coaching?
Not a chance. No. I won't say no to coaching, but definitely not playing. I'm not putting my body through that ever again, you know.
That's a shame. I would have liked one more go around with you on the Masters scene.
No, it won't be happening. It won't be happening.
Look, I'm not going to go through the clubs you played with. For me, you know, as a 10-year-old kid, I remember going down to the Obla Hall and seeing this Irish kid starting with road speed back then, and it was you, and who is he? Where does he come from? You know, and watching you through the leagues when you went to the UK and back here again and back with the teams you played with. Well, let's go back to the start. Who, what, or why inspired you to pick up a ball for the first time?
Okay, it's a two-part answer, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The Roy Curtis, for me, was the holy grail, you know? For me, it was the highest level of basketball that was played in this country, and still to this day, if it was still running the tournament, it would be the highest level of basketball. You know, you had 3-4 Americans on some of the teams, and, you know, the British teams were coming over maybe with 5-6 Americans. You had, you know, Russian teams, Scandinavian, Dutch, American teams coming over. As an 11-year-old, basically, I was cleaning the floor in the Oblats, selling magazines at the Roy Curtis. I watched every game over the weekends, and that was just my huge inspiration to get involved in basketball. Now, at the same time, the school was, we amalgamated, I suppose, with Corinthians. And so all our school teams in Closh-Quivin, most of the lads, like probably 90% of them, played with the club team. So that was their access to these games. You know, I'd never seen a game on TV. I think I was 11 the first year at the Roy Curtis. My first Roy Curtis was the year before Neptune Bergeland won it, the big one. They were the first Irish team to win it. And basically, I was cleaning the floor. I couldn't. I'm watching the games. I'm trying to clean the floor. I'm watching the games. I'm trying to sell a magazine. That would have been my big inspiration, just seeing the standard, you know, the level. I mean, we had some serious players playing in that tournament. You know, Butch Hayes, Ray Smith, for me, the best player that ever played here. Danny Davis, played with Kingston, you know, Alton Bird, Mike Pyatt, Lenny back in the day, just unbelievable on another scale back in the day. I mean, most people remember Lenny, you know, as this older guy in his 30s, 40s playing, you know, struggling getting up and down, but Lenny had some bounce. He could shoot, he played defense, you know, hands like a boxer. So that would have been my big inspiration as far as watching it. Now, the second part to that would have been a person. His name is Larry O'Reilly. I think, can you play from underage Irish teams or something?
Larry O'Reilly picked me for an Irish development team when I was 15. It was the under-17 development team. We went away to Tralee for a weekend, and I just remember how forward-thinking he was and how level he was. Like, he spoke to me like a man, even though I was a kid. You know what I mean? You didn't make the team this year. This is what you need to go away and do.
Yeah.
And that always stuck with me.
Yeah. You know, way ahead of his time. If, you know, people have asked me many times over the years if I was starting a club, you know, and I had to pick a coach to kick it all off. Larry O'Reilly, Mark Ingle, two of them right there. You're going to get an honest shift. If we're training for 2 hours, we're training. There's no running out for a cigarette. You know, Larry, Mark, not running out for a cigarette, and you're literally going to be dripping in sweat. Yeah. You know, you're going to get a program to do outside of the 3 or 4 nights a week training and your game. Just way ahead of himself, Larry was, you know, and that inspired me then, you know, tough training sessions in the school. We didn't have an inside court. We trained outside on black tar. So winter, summer, we were outside, you know, shoveling snow away. I think, you know, and all due to Larry, we had, I think, through the 6 years I was in school, we had about 25 international players just through that period where I was there, you know. And remember, 25 internationals training outside on a black tar floor, lashing rain, you know, snow. And, you know, he was just ahead of himself. We were always, as I said, working on programs. He was always developing a team or a player. You know, I played up from under 13s. I was playing up with the under 19s. So 13s, 15s, 17s, 19s, I've been playing up the whole time. He's developing me, even though I'm the man with the under 13 team. I'm not the man with the under 14s, the 16s, but I've been developed. He's looking ahead and, you know, just far ahead of himself. You know, he went to Tralee. They had been second division. They got promoted, and, you know, in Tralee, I was there too. You know, we finished second in the league, if I remember right. Roseby was the same. He was coaching there, you know, from second division, challenged straight away. He coached Navywear, the women, when they played in Europe. Mm-hmm. Actually brought a really tough female player over here. She had gotten down to, I think it was the last 12 or 14 with the American Olympic team, Tina Cottle, big black girl, gold teeth, just tough. She probably could have played in the men's league, you know. Just ahead of his time, and just inspired me with his enthusiasm and, you know, his knowledge. I couldn't get enough from him, you know, absorb everything and get out. You had to get out and do the work, obviously. Yeah. You know, so that would be my little spiel on that, my story on that, you know, who inspired me or what inspired me, you know.
Just going back to the Roy Curtis, for like a lot of our younger viewers or younger listeners wouldn't realize the standard of player that was here, or how huge that tournament was. Like, I remember going down it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You know, there was a couple of triple overtime games. I remember Den Haag from the Netherlands being in and just being big bodies, and then like your guest players with the likes of yourselves with road speed. But like I feel like you're selling yourself short a little bit with the Roy Curtis. Like, you started cleaning the floor as an 11-year-old. You went on to win it and get MVP with your own club team. Like, like in that gym, like that's the mecca of Irish basketball. It's like Obla Hall, Neptune, and the arena kind of fits in somewhere after that. But like the Obla Hall was where everybody wanted to play. Father Joe, you know, it was the history. You could, when you walked into the gym, the smell, it was the old shower rooms. Like the younger players don't remember this. Like, you know what I mean? Just how great the Oblats was and how full it would be.
Yeah. You know, that was the highlight on my calendar every year, if I'm honest. You know, I suppose most of the better teams, the Irish teams, only played in because you had to be invited. So, you know, for me, the Roy Curtis was the number one. For me, the league would be number two because that shows consistency. The cup, number three, and nobody really cared about the top fours. Now, unfortunately, the cup weekend, your sponsors, a lot of people, you know, they prioritize that or whatever. But the Roy Curtis, if you're just talking about basketball, that's the highest standard of basketball that was ever played in this country, you know. And I mean, you play a team that's playing in the Roy Curtis final against a team that's playing in the National Cup final. That team in the Roy Curtis final is going to blow that team out in the Cup final because of the extra American players playing harder, you know. I used to split the season up into three in my mind, you know, get to the Roy Curtis weekend. Then after that was get to the Cup weekend, and then the last weekend of the season, the top fours. And, you know, I used to push myself according to that, you know, always stay in shape. A lot of times I would be coming back from the States anyway, having been playing over there. And, you know, you could feel yourself getting maybe a little bit out of shape, but you know that Roy Curtis is around the corner. Keep working, keep pushing, keep working. Then, as I said, the Cup is after that, between November and I think it's the end of December, you play the next round. You're fortunate enough to be still in that, keep pushing towards that. The little goals in your head, keep pushing, keep getting to the gym, lifting your weight, keep shooting. This is outside of the teamwork, by the way. You know, yeah, but the right course, we had so many, you know, good players come over to that. Butch Hayes, Baron Fleming, just some serious talent that played that weekend. Another thing I want to say about the Roy Curtis, when I'm sitting there scrubbing the floors and selling the magazines, I watched it for so many years, I really did. And I watched every single game, every minute of every game. I could probably tell you the scores of some of the games. But what I did observe, and I swore if I played in it, it would never happen to me. I observed, you know, we would be fine as far as getting rebounds, the Irish teams, and, you know, holding around at the wing spot. But the guard position, I seen it for myself. And I'm not trying to, you know, downplay anybody's career. And I don't want to offend anybody. I'm just giving honest opinion here of what I seen. And I swore it wouldn't happen to me. If I ever got to play in the tournament, I would never, ever allow a team that I played for to struggle getting the ball up from one end of the court to the other. You know, I've seen some established players. I'm not going to name names from Vincent's, the guards, Calester, Killarney, Neptune, Demons, all serious players, but they come to that Roy Curtis weekend and they couldn't get the ball up the floor to get the teams into sets, get the Americans the ball, get into position. They weren't a threat themselves. And I swore if I ever got the opportunity to play in that tournament, that would never happen to me. And I'd like to think it didn't, you know. As I said, as you said earlier, you know, I'm fortunate enough to have played in it, you know, won it, got a most valuable player award. So very fortunate, you know. It's played with a lot of good players too, and against a lot of good players, you know. So yeah, that's my story of the Roy Curtis and my inspiration, you know.
Well, following on from that, just saying that you played with a lot of good players, you know, over the years, your time with Demons, with Notre Dame, your time down in Tralee, you know, in the Irish League, your time with Roadspeed. Who would your favourite teammate have been, and why? I know it's going to be a tough one.
Right. I'll go with Irish first, okay?
Okay.
Right. This would be a guy now I would have played with at a club level in Cork. I played on the Irish under 19 team with him. Very fortunate to play with him, I have to say. I seen him school some of the more experienced guards when he was a kid defensively. Jim Hannigan from the Northmont. Do you remember Jim Hannigan?
Don't remember Jim, no.
Small enough, maybe 5'10", 5'11". Just clever player. He could actually score the ball, but I don't know what, he passed the ball for me a little bit too much, you know. Defense, incredible. I remember we played Blue Demons and they were the hot team that year. They were the team, and they did went on to win the league. I think it was the first year or second year of the one American. Demons had Jasper and they signed Fitzy. Do you remember Paul Fitzy? Yeah. Big guy, about 6'7". Yeah. You know, they were favourites to win everything. And we just so happened to play them 2 weeks in a row. We played them in the pre-season tournament and the first league game of the season. And we beat them in both. But Jim Hannigan, he was marking Mono. You probably heard of Mono McCarthy. Serious player. And Jim just took him to school. He couldn't get the ball over the halfway line. You could see Mono frustrated. We were running layups. We were just, it was a very young team. I think we had Jenkins playing with us. Very young team, but he put that up to Mono. Those 2 games, and I'll never forget it. I'm like, geez, I'm so proud of you. With the national team then, you know, they were bringing in Irish Americans at that under 19 level, and he kind of, I don't know, they kind of set him and were playing the Americans ahead of him, which for me was a mistake. You know, we had a very successful under 19 team. I think we spoke about this before. We won that World Club Basketball tournament in Crystal Palace. I think he scored 140 or 50 points in the under 19 Cup final. But Jim would have been one of the anchors on that team. And for some reason or other, we go playing with that Irish team, get back to that. And they just didn't play him. You know, he'd play a few minutes here, a few minutes there. I was frustrated at the time. I remember about it. I'm like, why is he not playing? Just because this guy is half American, it doesn't mean he has to play ahead of him. And he's clearly a better player, you know. Actually, our under 19 club team that won that world championship, our under 19 club team would have beat the Irish under 19 team that year. It was that successful, you know. But anyway, getting back to Jim. Jim was one of my favorites. And I have 2 other guys I just feel I have to mention here. Unsung heroes with the clubs that they played with. Really, both of them I think were Irish internationals as well. One is Brian Burke. he played for Blue Demons. You know, Jasper loved, I know, playing with him because Jasper could shoot the ball and didn't have to concentrate on defense or marking the other Americans. Do you remember Greenberg, about 6'5", strong, shoot from the baseline? And another guy was Cormac O'Donoghue at Tralee Tigers. And I think he played with Killarney for a few years too. 6'6", 6'7", big leaper. Again, marked the other Americans, rebounds, scoring, the whole lot. So two guys there. I think Jim got a little bit more credit than those two. But for me, they were great teammates to play with. Never really complained about anything, just get on with their job. You know, the rest of us would be giving out about whatever, and they just, you know, calm and influence and just get on with it, you know. So Jim, Hannigan, Brian Burke, and Cormac O'Donoghue, they would be my three favorite Irish players to play with. Americans, geez, we've such a, because I moved clubs so often, you know, and in different countries playing. Right, I'll tell you what I'll do on this one. I'll give you 3 or 4 Americans that I played with here, between here and the UK, and I'll give you 3 or 4 Americans that I played in the States in the different leagues and Pro-Am and that. So over here, for me, the ones that I played with, Gerald Kennedy. His first year over here would have been my 2nd or 3rd year on a National League team, because I was playing on that team since I'm 13, 14 years old, on a Super League team. Gerald, I think very underrated, doesn't get enough credit playing for what he did over here, his career. You know, he won the old Super League, he won the old 2nd Division, he won a National Cup, and, you know, brought a 2nd Division team to a Cup semi-final. Serious handle on the ball. For me, probably the best handle on a ball of any player that ever played here, and plus his size. And back in the day, Gerald was quite strong, you know, up and down, good leap or two onto the knees. Jump shot, night and day, you know, sometimes, but all the other stuff, rebound. I remember we played down in Cork against Burgland when they were, you know, far superior to everybody else because of Ray Smith. And Gerald just absolutely just devoured Terry and Ray down there. And hence he got the job playing with Neptune the next year. But Gerald's a guy, he was great too. He kind of took me under his wing. I was his rookie year, even though he was the rookie and I was playing a year or two before him. And he took me, because I was quite young, took me under his wing and I'd go practice with him. So yeah, Gerald Kennedy. Another one would have been a guy called Chubby Wells. He played at Clemson University. And he's been an agent for the last, I think, 10 or 20 years in the States for like the NBA guys, Ramon Sessions, Dale Davis, a few others. I know he played at Clemson with Zion Williams' father, Chubby. Do you remember Chubby playing with Rhodesfield? Chubby was a player coach.
Look, I probably have a program somewhere with his name on it.
Yeah. About 6'6", leaper, mean, you know, tough, mean. And we had a 7-footer with him back then, as most of the teams did. They had like a 7-footer and the average 6'6" American with him. But he was great for my career as well. You know, I played with him over here and I actually got to play with and against him in the States in different Pro-Ams and stuff. So Chubby would have been one of my inspirations, you know, even when I went to the States one year when I was playing over there, like Chubby played at Clemson, as I said, with Larry Nance and Tree Rollins. Do you remember Larry Nance and Tree Rollins?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Larry Nance won the dunk competition.
When he was with the Cavs.
Yeah, big 6'11", and Tree Rollins was the starting post player with Atlanta Hawks, I think 7-1 or something. But Chubby found out I was over there and let's hook up, let's go to the club. So one Saturday night I met Chubby. I'm hanging out in the club with guys that I would have had their pictures on my wall at home. Larry Nance, you know, win the dunk competition. I'm hanging out drinking. I'm 18, 19 years old. I'm hanging out with Larry Nance, Tree Rollins, and Dominique wasn't there. But, you know, just a great experience for a kid, you know, to see these guys and get to play with and against them in different leagues, you know. Lenny as well. Lenny would have been another one that I would have, you know, thought highly of. And I still do. I alluded to it earlier there, you know, shooting, defense, hands like a boxer, you know, just tough, smart, everything. And Lenny had it all. Unfortunately, you know, the younger Americans coming in, they are people to the game, newer to the game, they see the older Lenny, you know, a little bit stooped over it. Legs aren't as bouncy as they used to be, but this and these, you know, worked like they did when he, when he arrived. You know, those hands quick like a boxer.
I remember being in the game I remember being in the game in the Oblats when he hit his head off the rim. Were you were there that game?
I think that was the Roy Curtis final, the year Neptune won it.
Yeah,
they won it. There was, you know, Altenburg was supposed to be the shit that year, and the story as it goes. And I've spoken to Lenny about this. You know, before the final, they were playing Murray Metals from Scotland, 4 or 5 Americans, wherever they had. I think Tom Wilkinson or somebody, they had told him, "You're marking Bird." And so Lenny sat there, and the coaches time out. Yeah, that's fine. Saying them, they're walking on the court. I have him. He's mine. And Lenny just took him to school. You know, Altenburg couldn't do anything. There is a picture, I have it, I think, somewhere, where Lenny's head is right there, going up to challenge a shot, and his head is right up by the rim in the Oblet Hall. Yeah. So yeah, they would be the players that, you know, inspired me or enjoyed playing with or taught me so much, took me under their wings. So yeah, that would be my story on them. Yeah.
Some serious players there. You were always that guy for me. You were the one who took me under your wing when I came into the league first, and even when I went back playing with Corinthians all those years later, you were always that voice of reason. And this is, I know there's going to be people tuning in going, Darren McGuinness was your voice of reason. No wonder you're as mental as you are on the court. But like you calmed me down. I don't know how you managed it, but like it was like, you know, if you said to me, right, that was it, Jago, that's it. That was it. I'd just stop. You know, now you'd probably go off on the ref then after that, but like I'd have stopped.
Yeah. Well, that year in particular, if I remember when you were playing, I think might have been my last year playing. I was player coach, if I remember right.
Player coach, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the team was stacked. You didn't have to do too much coaching. You know, it was more worried about, you know, getting players 2 games because they were working on different injuries or suspensions and stuff like that. You know, people might have seen me at times get annoyed in games, but believe me, I was always in control. You know, when you're sitting there watching the game and you're on the floor, it's totally different. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on that you don't hear when you're up there in the stands watching. There's players trying to piss you off, or they're in your ear saying X or Y, but you might get annoyed, or, you know, I don't think I've ever lost it in a game fully. I've always been there. I might be pissed off for a moment, but there's a strategy, there's a plan going on there, right there in my head the whole time.
I remember you took a tech from me one game. You, like, whatever happened, you took I was about to, but I was on 3 fouls or whatever, and you went in and interjected, and you took the technical. And it was that where you kind of walked away with me going, right, it's done now. I've taken that. Let's just leave it. Let's just leave it. You owe me. Let's just leave it. And I was like, right, all right. But it was that smart that you had that, hold on, that'll be his 4th. We need him on the
floor. I might have only had 1 or 2,
one or two. I'll take that. It will diffuse the situation, take the referee away from me for a couple of minutes, and we get back into it, you know?
You see, what would frustrate you as well at those, particularly at the Division 1 Dublin League level or whatever, you have those same referees that are refereeing every Saturday and a Friday or a Sunday, whatever, and they're coming to the cold Oblet Hall at 9 o'clock of a Tuesday or Thursday night, and they don't want to be in the hall. You know, they haven't seen that we've practiced 2 or 3 times that week, or they don't consider this, you know. They just have no interest in the game. They just want to get in and out. You know, if a game looks like it's going to extra time, they're going to call something. They just never, and I think it's quite unfair, but, you know, all the established referees would have ref their games, all the ones around Dublin that were refereeing in the Super League. But you go and watch them referee on a Saturday night, particularly if it's on TV, or if there's a good crowd in the arena or whatever, they will put their heart and soul into that, where they're just plain and simply not interested in refereeing during the week. You know, they do it because they're allocated games. But yeah, that was frustrating. For a lot of players, particularly the ones that, as I say, we dropped down our last few years. Yeah. So you were expecting that level of professionalism from these guys because you know what they were capable of. Obviously, there's good and bad referees, and you know we all have our favourites or whatever. But for me, you get paid to do a job, whether it's at Super League level or Division 6 women or whatever. You know, put in the same effort, but they didn't, and that's where a lot of frustration would have boiled over with guys that were dropping down that would have been quite successful early on. They're dropping down to like, this guy's just not putting it in, or this girl's just not putting it in, you know. Yeah,
very, very true. So over the years, you know, you've been around the league. Who was the toughest person you've had to guard, and then who played you? Who was the one person that you'd go, oh, can't believe I'm up against this guy tonight, he's gonna make me work for everything?
Yeah. Right, to guard. I'm going to go Irish and American again, okay? Liam is probably the toughest to guard. Liam McHale. His size, his length, very, very smart. Wasn't a great athlete, skill level good, but he was very, very cute. A little bit like Jasper, actually, you know. They weren't great athletes, but they just knew how to get their bodies in positions and, you know, get you on one shoulder, drop step, or just cute players. So Liam for me, with his length and his cuteness, was always difficult to guard, you know. Now, as far as me guarding, right, I'll tell you, it's not really because, and I'm not trying to, you know, downplay their skills or their talent, but for me, it was a particular reason. Adrian and Scotty up at the start of the sea, and this was in the 90s now. You know, I was trying my best to keep it specific to the 80s, but Adrian and Scotty, and the reason for that was, you know, I played pretty much 40 minutes every game unless I was in foul trouble or I was injured. You know, Adrian would start and full of energy, good player, athletic, the whole lot. And Adrian's going out to get a breather. I'm still in the game, and look what's coming in. Like,
Scotty, the little people running around screens.
A jet. You know, while Scotty's in running me, playing defense on me, you know, Scotty's defense, you know, wouldn't have been his strength, but he's there, he's small, you're aware of him. Adrian's getting a rest, you know, so Scotty's going back out in 5 to 10 minutes, whatever the case, Adrian's coming back in fresh. So I'm trying to pace myself, you know, 40 minutes, a long time, you know, and these two of them extremely quick, smart, both Scotty shooting. So yeah, that used to not frustrate me, but yeah, they were difficult for me because just because of that, they were getting breathers, they were getting blows, and I'm out there the whole time. You know, so Scotty and Adrian, yeah.
Yeah, two
Mark Keenan was tough as well. His size, you know, everybody's seen Mark being small, but Mark was quite strong. Kind of like Muggsy Bogues' strength, not quite as strong as that. But Mark would get down real low, hands out. Referees have seen the hands out. You know, you talk about cylinders when you're playing, you know, and Mark would keep the hands out and he'd shadow you. Next of all, bang, you're getting hit with a chest or a stomach, and you almost fall over because he's so small. And, you know, referees have seen the hands out and they've seen the legs moving. And Jesus, I remember we played Vincent in I can't remember, semi-final or something, playoff game or something. And I got 4 offensive fouls called on me in the game because Mark was 4. And I would never get offensive fouls called on me. You know, the Vincent's crowd are yelling, screaming, he's pushing off. I'm trying to protect myself because Mark is down so low to the ground because he's already short, quite strong. And you're moving at speed with a ball, and next ball, boom, you're getting that bump, you know, and it would knock you off balance.
Yeah.
So when I used to play against Mark then towards the latter few years, my attitude was like, just run him over because I'm moving at speed with the ball. If the referees are refereeing to the rules, your cylinder, and he's coming in and bumping me, it's a foul. But, you know, they didn't obviously. That
no,
way.
Mark. Mark, you
yeah.
played with Mark as well. Mark would have played with road speed when you were coming into the league.
I played with Mark in school, club, with Irish teams with Mark and National League level. Mark's a serious player. I have to say, I never thought he would have went into coaching and being so successfully. You know, I really never did. I never did see that coming at all. But yeah, I played in school. I would have played up with Mark. I think Mark's got 3 or 4 years older than me, so I would have played up with them from pretty much from first year until he left. And then with the club team under 15, 17, 19s, we would have won Billy Kelly's and I think National Cup as well together. And yeah, Mark, yeah.
Super player.
Actually would have been one of my idols growing up because of, you know, he's so much older or a few years older, whatever. And I wanted to do what he was doing. He was already on Irish teams and captain of Irish teams. So he would have been a big inspiration actually as well, you know.
Brilliant. And he's still doing it now, which is, you know what I mean?
Great job.
Still job. Players and doing a great job coaching with Temple Oak at the minute. And like he's won it all now at this stage as a player and a coach.
Yeah, several times. Yeah. I have to say, still, I don't know why for me, I never thought Mark would have went into coaching or being that interested, but obviously I was wrong.
So, basketball players, superstitions, pre-game routines, or things that you'd never change. Had you any, or were you just a go with the flow kind of guy?
No, I didn't have any superstitions as far as, you know, I need to tie this lace first, or I need to wear shorts underneath, or a wristband or whatever. But what I did have, I had to put the work in. So if we played, for example, we played Saturday night, I would have taken Sunday off, no question. And it was, the grind started Monday morning then. You know, I'd get to the gym and lifting my weights, I'm shooting, I'm eating correctly. My diet would have been perfection at the time, not now. Yeah, so I would have put in the work during the day myself. So when I was going to practice with the team at night, I wasn't going there for fitness. I wasn't going there for anything like that. I was going there, you know, to get used to playing with the lads, running our sets or whatever. So if I didn't put in that work during the week, if I didn't do it, that would mess my head up at the weekend, because I always felt like if I put that work in, you know, during the week, no matter who we're playing at the weekend, I expect us to win. You know, I'm not going to say I expect me to be the best player. I'm going to say I expect us to win if I put in that work, you know. And another thing I always thought of when I was playing, for me, when I was playing with various different teams, 20 and 10. I had to get somewhere close to 20 points, 10 assists, you know, 1 or 2 rebounds. I'm not going to get many of them because I'm running after somebody at the 3-point line, 1 or 2 steals, but that 20 and 10 always in my head, 20 and 10, 20 and 10. So yeah, I had to put that work in. If I didn't put that work in, that's my only superstition. If I didn't put that work in, I'd be going into the game thinking, oh, you know, you didn't do it this week. I'm not going to say I didn't deserve to win, but you didn't do it, and I would feel a little bit off, you know. So yeah, that would be.
It's good advice. It's a nice way of getting people to think as well. You know what I mean? If Isaac Westbrook said in his, whatever you put into it is what you get out of it. You know what I mean? And that's very true. And I think now with modern players or younger players, they don't see the grind. They don't see the 500 shots you put up this morning. They see it on the court on a Saturday night and go, geez, he's a great player. But the work that goes in behind the scenes, that's what made you a great player.
You know what? And I realized that early because of Larry, I suppose. But then when I went playing, for example, in Cork, Cork was the mecca for basketball back in the 80s.
Absolutely,
you know? The 3 Cork teams finished first, second, and third in what order you didn't know. Mostly it was Neptune because of, again, Ray Smith. But those guys, you know, we had guys that had played in the NBA. We had guys that pretty much all the players were drafted back then. You know, you had a 7-footer and the smaller player 6'5", 6'6". So, for example, you had Kenny Perkins 6'8", 6'9", Kelvin 6'4". You had, I don't know, what's that guy we had in the North Mall? Jim Smith, 7 feet tall, had played in the NBA, had been all through Europe, and we got him on the downslide at maybe 32, 33 years old. But the 6'6" was the smaller player back then. You know, but these guys were still putting in the work. I'd be up in the parochial hall, we would train that night before, and you go up to the parochial hall 10 o'clock in the morning. You have the Demons Yanks over there, the Northmont Yanks, the Neptune guys be down in the stadium, and everybody's working. This is the next morning. Everybody's training. They want to, you know, put in the work. They want to get to a different country to play, or they've been playing in a different country, and they knew what they needed to do to stay in shape or keep a job. So just some serious players back then, and they took the profession seriously. You know, then what happened, again, I'm going to slip this over a little bit into the 90s. Probably from 89 to maybe 90, the caliber of the Americans we got in the country, it just wasn't to that level. Now, I hope I'm not offending anybody by saying that, but, you know, if you get some of the older lads on here, they'll probably back that up. You know, it wasn't as enjoyable playing with what was coming in, and, you know, their egos were hugely inflated. They were undersized. Some of them were undersized post players that like lay in bed half of the day. They didn't put in any work. And, you know, you're playing at the weekend to shoot 40 shots, playing no defense, you know, not trying to fit in with the team. They want the team to fit in with them. So I came from that old school where the Americans are getting out of bed, and the Irish players working out in the morning, training hard, training with the team in the evening, you know, putting in the work that evening, then again, putting in the work at the weekends, were respectful to their teammates. And then what you had in the 90s coming in, you know, players that weren't drafted, first of all, undersized, you know, 6'5", 6'6", playing in the post. We still had the leftover guys from the 80s, the Lavernes, the Kelvins, the Jaspers, the Jenkins. We had those guys still 10 years old in these rookies and dominating them, but they were still putting in the grind. And you had these younger guys coming in thinking, you know, they were all this and all that, and, you know, egos, as I said, overinflated completely, and, you know, not staying. Like, I played with some guys, and again, I'm not going to name who or where it was, but I'm going to bed early after training, you know, because I'm up in the morning to be in the hotel or be in the gym training, whatever the gym was. These guys are up 5, 6 in the morning, sleeping all day. It's dark at 4 o'clock, getting out of bed, scrambling, trying to get food, have a shower before we go to practice. My work is done 10 o'clock in the morning. I've 2 hours work done by 12 o'clock. And then, as I said, the weekend coming along, these guys aren't doing what they should be doing, or they're shooting the ball just every time they get it, you know, inflate their stats. So it was frustrating then in the 90s for me. Actually, I wish I hadn't played, if I'm honest, in the 90s. I remember doing an interview with Keona Foley, and I could see her looking at me like I was crazy at the time. I was 19 years old, and I was playing with Rosebud, actually. It was before I went to play in England. I did an interview with her, and I said to her, it was just before a top of the table clash against Neptune, actually, the year they went undefeated. I think we lost 2 or 3 games. So any other year we would have won that league. We only lost 3 games. They went undefeated. And I remember talking to Cleona, and I said to her, I think if I could win a league right now or win one of these big trophies, I would absolutely be happy to retire. And I could see her looking at me. And I genuinely meant that, because at 19, I had been around it for 6 years. I had seen the basketball, what was there, that was really exciting. And then you're coming to this late 80s, early 90s, through the 90s, and it just, for me, wasn't as exciting. I think I was playing with the Mon at the time. I remember being in the stadium. I'm looking around. The crowds kind of stuck around for about 2 years after the One American thing came in. And I remember looking in the stadium and I'm thinking to myself, what are you doing? This is not for you. And I think actually I was gone. I was off in the UK playing the next year, you know. It just, for me, having that excitement for those first 6 or 7 years, and then what came along after that, it just didn't excite me. So I probably, you know, should have stopped playing earlier than I did. You know, you get frustrated when you've come from that, and now you're at this point. So frustrated, you know.
So, yeah. Favorite shoes of all time, if you could make a Darren McGuinness shoe for the rest of your life, Nike or Under Armour, whoever it is, what are you wearing?
Well, I mostly wore Nike, but anything for me with an air bubble. I have a huge issue with, it's called plantar fasciitis. Have you heard of it? It's under the heel. A lot of the tennis players think they get it mostly. So anything with that air bubble in it that would, you know, give me a little bit of comfort under that heel. And on that right side as well, I had a dodgy Achilles. At one stage, I was getting shots up into that plantar fasciitis. So yeah, I'm not going to say it's the Jordan 1, it's the Jordan whatever, but it's some sort of Nike with an air bubble. That's it for me. Some of the guys I know, they can tell you all the shoes, Jordan this, Jordan that, the rest. I don't know the names. I haven't got a clue. I'll put the shoe on or I'll look at it, and I won't even give it a try unless it has an air bubble. That's
solid,
plain and simple.
Solid. Right, yeah. So over the years, you played with some of the best that have played over here. You played against some of the best that played over here. It's you and 4 others going to the gym for a pickup game. Positionally, who are you taking? So you can go teammates or people you wish you had played with.
Right. I'll be honest with this answer now, and I won't show any favoritism towards guys I played with, or, you know, no ego. That's dropped 20 years ago. Totally gone. Right, I'm going to go Liam.
Where are you playing him? 3 or 4?
Liam is probably going to play the 4.
Okay.
Liam will bounce around positions, but probably the 4 to start him off. You know, again, for the reason that we spoke about earlier, length, cuteness, just smart all around. Mightn't have been as athletic as some of them, but really, really, really good. For me, the number 1 player, you know, Irish player. At the 5, I'm going to go with Fitzy, Paul Fitzgerald. Do you remember? You're probably too young to remember Fitzy.
Jesus, thanks for me.
Huh?
I haven't been called young in a long time. Appreciate that.
Fitzy, 6'7", solid. You know, the reason Demons won the league when I went to One American was because I feel the advantage they had with Fitzy. You know, Jasper was able to, again, just shoot the ball, score the ball. That's it. Fitzy, I'll get the boards, I'll play defense when I went to the One American. So Fitzy, you know, and also people forget, Fitzy played with Neptune and he would have won 4 or 5 league cups there. He goes to Blue Demons and straight away they won the league, you know, so huge advantage. I know he didn't get to play quite a lot at Neptune. For me, he should have played more, but that was more because they had Ray Smith again. For me, the #1 player that ever played here. Here 3 years in a row, win the league 3 years, I think won 2 cups, and just the career he had even after he left here, you know, led the ABA or the Spanish league and scoring the ACB. You know, just serious player. So Fitzy at the 5. Now, I'm going to throw 2 names here, very, very similar in ways, but one of them is more athletic than the other. I'm going to put Carl Donnelly, and Stephen McCarthy are the next 2. So with myself there, so we'll say myself, Stodzer, and Carl. Between that 3 kind of guard or small forward rotation right there, very, very similar players actually. Carl, the best athlete, I think, of the 3 of us. And then between the 3 of us, very similar skill set, you know, shooting. Everybody I named on that list, by the way, would play defense. There's no one slacking on defense. They're not saving their energy, you know, for shooting the ball. But between, I think, this self, Carl, and Stephen, I think that rotation, you know, if you're passing, you know, cut through or switch or something, I think that 3 guard rotation right there, and with Liam and Fitzy's size and smartness, I think for me that would be, you know, the best 5 that I could pick. Yeah.
Funny, Carl Donnelly, you know, for the 90s, like he was nearly him and Stephen McGurk were nearly the poster boys for the league.
Yeah.
And he's just not mentioned anymore. It's like he vanished.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's just so weird.
Yeah. You know. Yeah, Carl was a serious player. You know, great athlete. Yeah, like far superior athlete to say myself and Stephen. Yeah, just serious player. You know, handle probably could have been a little bit sharper. Shoot the ball, you know, get a few rebounds, play defense, and cute, smart. You know, Stephen, not very athletic, you know, probably a little bit overweight most of his career, but really, really smart. Could shoot the ball, could play defense, got his teammates set up. You see, those guys, Stephen, myself, and Carl, would be coming from underage systems that were taught to play the game correctly. You know, say myself with Larry, Carl over there with Joey and Vincent, and Stephen with various different coaches down in Neptune. They would have been taught to play the game correctly. You know, pass, you have to play defense, you have to shoot, penetrate, get people open, not just penetrating, looking to score. And, you know, these are guys I would have seen lots of my own traits in, and hopefully they've seen some of their play in me or whatever as well. But they were taught how to play the game correctly. And there's a lot of guys that weren't. You know, I played on Irish teams with guys, underage Irish teams with guys that, you know, they're coming up to me and after seeing it, like one of our All-Ireland finals, they're seeing the results, and I only had 18 points. And they're saying to me, geez, you only scored 18. I'm like, to myself, I'm thinking, you know, mate, I don't want to insult you, but we play a system. I'm never going to score 40 or 50 points in the system that we played in school or with the club. You know, you'd have some games like that where you just had to turn it up. But overall, I'm not going to score more than that 20 and that 10 because I'm getting other people involved. I'm not just out there shooting the ball, playing in it. Like some of the guys that, you know, I don't want to name the guy that said this to me in particular, but went on to have a good career. And you've had him on the podcast, actually, went on to have a good career. But when he said that to me, I'm going back. I'm like, okay, his school system is absolutely crap. He's probably shooting 40 or 50 shots a game. They're not winning anything. Early days played with like second division teams, you know, and just chucking up shots. And then, you know, I'm thinking he wasn't taught the game correctly. And this is a guy that at an elite level over here would have played on the national team. And there was many like that, not just him, you know. That used to confuse me because all I ever knew was hard work and play the system. You know, these guys were just playing off, I like basketball. My school will make a team for me and I'll shoot 50 shots. It was different. We came from a different setup completely, you know, very thorough. Larry went through everything with us. If you could dribble with your right, you had to dribble with your left. You could shoot with your right, you could shoot with your left, you know. So, yeah, that would be my answer to that.
That's a fairly solid 5, all right, I have to say.
Yeah.
Any team that has you, Liam McHale, Stodzer and Carl Donnelly on it, regardless of who's playing the 5, you're going to give somebody a run for their money, you know?
Yeah. Sure. You know, I could probably have stuck Tom Wilkinson in there as well. You probably don't remember him.
I remember Tom.
Tom was an outside player. He shoot the ball, play defense, really cute. his handle, that's why I didn't stick him in there. He didn't create for anybody. He didn't really create for himself. Like for me, without Tom Wilson, there's no Tom Sullivan. You know, Tom came after him, watched, would have seen. Tom would have been his rookie. You know, so yeah, that's my 5.
Decent 5, right?
So there you have it. First part of Darren's episode. Very interesting so far, I feel. His 5 for the court will be live on our Instagram page. So it's Team McGuinness versus Team Scally. Let's see, can we get a win for the men this week? I doubt it, but sure, look, we'll try. And until Thursday, this is Jago saying, I'll see you on the court soon.